Om Jnana-timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvashesha Shunyavadi Paschacharya Chatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So first of all, I just want to say thank you all so much for this wonderful opportunity. I don't know if it's so much about my story, but it's more about to do helping people and inspiring people. So hopefully I'm able to do that. And yeah, just to give a short, brief summary about my life, I was raised and born majority of my time in London, actually, in the UK, in London. And yeah, and I was kind of raised in a Muslim Islamic family. I was practicing that for the majority of my life. But somewhere along the journey, you know, whilst I was practicing the rich, like my faith, something really struck. I'm always reminded by this quote that, you know, we live with traditions that we don't know why we're following them. It's like tell a lie long enough, it becomes a truth. Preach a truth long enough, it becomes a culture. And sustain a culture long enough, it becomes a tradition. We have so many beliefs that we're holding on to, but we don't know if it's true or not. You know, many people are following religion and you ask them, why are you following them? Oh, because my parents told me to. So that wasn't a path that I felt inspired to walk on. You know, where if people, and I've had it many times actually, I've had many people come to me and challenge me about my own religion, and I felt insufficient to answer any of their questions. So it kind of really made me think, like, if I'm going to live and dedicate my life to something, it better be something that I'm resonating with, that I connect with, that not just I connect with, that is actually giving me bliss, is giving me happiness, is giving me confidence, is giving me what it is that I really need in my life at that time. So then I went to my parents. I said to my parents, I started becoming inquisitive. And they say in Krishna Consciousness, one of the 4 types of people that come is those that are inquisitive. So I became inquisitive. I asked my parents that, you know, like, Mom, Dad, you know, I've been praying for a while. I've been fasting for a while. I've been just listening. I've been a good boy for a while, but I have some questions. You know, would you be able to answer these questions? And you know, it's not their fault. Everyone lives with a certain paradigm. And the thing is, it's like parents like to see their children in a certain way, just like a teacher likes to see their student in a certain way, just like friends like to see their other friends in a certain way. So we all have very unhealthy expectation. We all have a very unhealthy model of the world. And when people don't actually act and behave in a way that we're comfortable with, that resonates with us, we become very aggressive and defensive. So nobody has ever asked my mom anything about Islam. I was the first person in my family. And I said to her, like, why do we pray to God in this way? Why do we fast? Why do we do this? Why is it that you're telling us that we're going to be happy, but at the same time you're suffering, we're about to be evicted from our house? So many things. And my mom couldn't answer a single question. And it's not her fault. This is something that we all experience, something that we all go through if we don't know the thorough in and out of why we're doing what we're doing. Simon Sinek once says here that start with your why and the how becomes easy. So she couldn't answer it. And then as a result of it, I felt even more disappointed, more let down. And I really felt like I'm just more confused. And there's been even times my mom told me that, you know, if you keep asking these questions, God is going to punish you. So we have this very unhealthy view of Krishna. We have this very impersonalist way of seeing God. Like one person actually mentioned something really good. Sometimes we take, and yes, Krishna is a person. Yes, Krishna loves, but sometimes what it is that we restrict and we bind Krishna to only what we know, to only what we've experienced. So if my mom has made me suffer for all these years, it must mean that God is a bad person also. So sometimes we take the concept of what's happening in our own life and we try and project that onto God. We restrict God and we're like, yeah, he's someone there, and like, you know, judging people, heaven and hell, but that's so black and white, you know. So my mom used to say that to me a lot. So I could clearly see that this wasn't going anywhere. This relationship, this inquisitiveness with them wasn't really going anywhere. They were very much in like set in their way. It's fine. So then, yeah, after that, I thought, okay, if I need to kind of find the truth, I need to go outside. So I started, this was when my journey really began. I became even more hungry, more inquisitive, more dissatisfied in my life with the answers I was getting, with the way the world was kind of, you know, really responding to my desire to find the truth. Then I started exploring Christianity. So that was the first religion. I kind of really began an inward journey and also an outward journey. I started connecting with my Christian friends. I started going to the church. I even got a hold of the Bible myself. And I really started studying. I really started like, is this how I can connect with God? And by the way, by the end of this conversation, it's not going to be so much about like, you know, oh, this religion is the right way, but something even beyond that. And I'm not trying to kind of say that one religion is better. It doesn't matter what religion you are, what spirituality practice you, that's not the point. The point is, how can I love God? And so my story and my journey, really, I see that. I see it as like, it doesn't matter whether it's Krishna consciousness or it's Christianity, Buddhism, whatever it is that we simply learn to love God and we simply learn to love others, because everyone is parts and parcel of God. So I kind of started exploring Christianity. I used to go to this one, it was like a theater, but on Sundays it would become like a church. It was in Tottenham Court Road. And I went there regularly. I would listen to the pastor speak. I would talk to some of the members there. And it was nice. It was definitely nice. I learned a lot. And this is the beauty of every religion, that it preaches the same thing, but in a different way. They were also sharing about the importance of loving God, the importance of treating your neighbor as you wish to be treated. All these very nice and beautiful concepts that if only we were to follow, the world would be a better place. But, you know, we follow it only when it's convenient to us. We follow it only when it suits our likings, and that's not really spiritual practice. But I felt like what it is that with this particular philosophy, I just didn't feel like it really struck my soul. I felt like the people I was speaking to, they were also looking just as much as I was looking. I felt like they really weren't convinced. Like, you know, it was basically the ritual without the spirit. And as a result, you get a very dry result in life. And you can see it, you know, that if you truly and really love someone, you'll respect them. Yeah. If you truly and really love someone, you'll honor them, you'll honor your vows to them, you'll honor your promise to them, because that person is real in your life and that person is someone you love and that person is someone you want to please. This is what happens in a relationship. When two people come together, they make promises and like, yeah, I'm going to be with you. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to make sure that, you know, I represent you well. And this is the same relationship with God that we have. That he's a real person and we're in a relationship with him, but we're not investing time in that relationship. We're not honoring that relationship. We're not keeping to our vows in that relationship. And as a result of it, it's like, you know, it's like the same situation with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Haridas Thakur. With every single thing that we do thinking God will forgive us, we're just kind of taking mockery. Yeah. You know, and this is what I saw. You know, it's like Monday, Saturday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, do whatever you want to do. On Sunday, somehow God will forgive you for all of your sins. I was like, that's not really it. This is not, there needs to be discipline. There needs to be regulation. And another thing I want to kind of really mention is that one thing that I used to do a lot, and we should definitely try and avoid doing, is sometimes we take a minority few people that practice a certain religion, and then we judge and discriminate the entire religion based on those few people that we've had an interaction with and that we've associated with. And when we do this, what it is that we develop a very narrow mind. We become very closed. And one of the most amazing things I've been practicing in my own Krishna consciousness is to learn to appreciate other people's spiritual practice and let that inspire me to enhance my own spiritual practice. It doesn't matter whether you're a Muslim, a Buddhist, a Christian, whatever it is. If you're following whatever you're following in the correct manner, in the correct way, I can look at that and I can take that as a source of inspiration to go deeper into my spiritual practice. So we should try and kind of avoid getting into the habit of that. So anyway, Christian. So then I started looking again. Then I started connecting with some Buddhist friends. I didn't go to the temple, but yeah, I started connecting more with the friends. And yeah, they were teaching me a lot also about how, you know, ultimately there is, you know, there's no life after death, that we are in control. In one sense, we're also God and all these kind of stuff, which was really nice. It was really, really nice. It was nice to think for a moment I was God. But yeah, it didn't really satisfy me, because another thing was that one thing that kind of really struck me is that us as a human, and here's such an important thing, I try and encourage this with everyone. Us as a human, we're naturally dependent on others. That is naturally by nature who we are. There's no such thing as independence in this world, because the very reality is that we're dependent on nature. We're depending on oxygen. We're depending on water. We're depending on food. So the whole idea of thinking you're independent, that in itself is a flaw. Sometimes we see independence as a sign of weakness. No, depending on others, we see it as a sign of weakness. But actually, I've learned here that if you truly and really embrace what it means to be dependent and to be independent at the same time, you'll learn to be interdependent. And that's powerful. You'll learn to recognize when it is that you need help, and to also recognize when you can actually use the ability Krishna is giving you to go forward in your life, to do amazing things, to preach, to do whatever. And this is something I've always had faith in my own life. You know, somehow or another, by just being dependent on people to help me, to guide me, to advise me, but at the same time learning to also be independent in certain decisions and choices, I've learned to be interdependent. So that was like Buddhism in a nutshell. They taught a lot, but I just still felt like I need connection, and I didn't really kind of feel like that. So then I started, and this was during a period of time. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, because my parents eventually found out that I was practicing a different religious practice, it kind of really intensified home. I wasn't able to have a good relationship with my sisters, my brothers, and my mother. And as a result of it, I left home. I became homeless. So I was seeking for like the right spiritual practice, and at the same time I was on the street, and at the same time I was working a few jobs. I was trying to save up my next paycheck so that I can just kind of rent out a hostel somewhere, just to kind of stay temporarily until I get something solid fixed. Wow. And yeah, it was a very difficult time. I was depressed during this time. So I was looking for the truth, but at the same time I was depressed. Depressed is interesting, you know, basically, so another way of seeing depressed is that we're deeply suppressing ourselves. And so as a result of deeply suppressing ourselves, we begin to experience depression. Do you get that? So I was kind of I was in that really box, you know, I was kind of really deeply suppressed. At the same time, I was trying to free myself. And yeah, this was when I was starting to kind of develop some suicidal tendencies. Yeah, it was really interesting, but I never gave up. I never gave up. And that's maybe, if there's anything to take away from this message, is never to give up. I just kept on going. And then somehow I came to the next spiritual practice of the world, which is the universe has your back. I don't know what it's called, but it's a new modern kind of philosophy where people believe if I actually change my vibration to the vibration of something I want in life, then I'll get that thing in life. I think someone wrote a book on that, The Secret, the law of attraction. So it's a big thing. I'm sure many of you know it. But the only problem with the law of attraction is that we forget about the law of karma. It doesn't matter how much you try and change your vibration to whatever it is that you want. If it's not within your karma, then you're not going to get it. And so many of us, especially myself, I found that there's so many times I was trying to change my vibration to something I wanted in life, but it wasn't happening. And I became very disappointed. I felt like a failure. And then, yeah, at the same time, homeless. But then eventually, and I was also, when I wasn't, and then eventually what had happened was I kind of got off from being homeless. I started my own business as a coach, as a mentor. I was still looking for a religion to practice, but yeah, I was, and oh, this is a beautiful thing. You know, I was looking for a religion to connect with, but at the same time, I spent my time trying to help other people. And it's so amazing because the thing is, you find yourself when you lose yourself in the service of others. When you make your life a selfless sacrifice, then Krishna reciprocates. Krishna's got your back. Forget about the universe having your back. Krishna's got your back, and Krishna is like the supreme. So I found that the more I just help people, even if I'm struggling in my own life, the more naturally all of my needs will be taken care of. The more that the path will be shown to me in where I need to go and what I need to do. And that happened exactly. That even when I had nothing, I had Krishna. Even when I had nothing, I had something even more wealthy. And that's one thing that we sometimes forget, that Krishna consciousness or Krishna, having Krishna in our life, makes us wealthy. It makes us prosperous. They say, Krishna says here that out of thousands of people that try and come to him, only a very, very few people really reach him. And even out of those very few that reach him, only a minute attain him. Only a minute really know him. So in one sense, we're already in that process and we're so fortunate. It's like we have a gem in our hand. But yeah, what it is that we're so quick to let go of it.
Yeah.
Because of like, this, you know, when Krishna's got like, and this is one thing I had to really discipline myself. When Krishna is giving us all the blessings, we're happy to believe in him. But when Krishna is kind of subtracting things in our life, then suddenly it's like, does Krishna even exist? Where's Krishna when I need him? Why isn't my family going through cancer? Why is my family going through this? Why is my friend going through that? Why am I going through this? But one thing that I try to really educate and dedicate my life to is to see everything that Krishna does to me as a blessing.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'll find that there's curses in our life, but those curses can actually be a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
Take, for example, Parikshit Maharaj. He had 7 days to live. Now, he could have seen that as a curse, even though it's actually mentioned as a curse, but that curse was actually a blessing. Because with that curse, the Bhagavatam was born.
Yeah.
So same in our life. Sometimes the greatest quality is born when we're stretched. The greatest quality is born when we're put into situations and circumstances that we're uncomfortable with, because that encourages us to take shelter of something that is far beyond just ourselves. So, and that's what I was really forced. When I was homeless, I was forced to surrender. I was forced to reach out. I was forced to ask for help. But yeah, eventually then what had happened was I was traveling and so on in just short summary. And then eventually once, and this is what it is, you know, Krishna is like, things don't happen because of our effort. Things happen because Krishna's arranging it. And Krishna's arranging things based on our sincerity and based on our purity. And so Krishna sent a devotee to me whilst I was in a park, and this devotee like saw and noticed that I was reading a book at the time called School of God. It's like, it was a Buddhist philosophy. And then, yeah, we kind of started engaging in an interaction. He started teaching me about Bhakti Yoga, not teaching me actually, just sharing with me about Bhakti Yoga, about Krishna Consciousness. And then he invited me to Soho London Temple. And then there I kind of like started coming regularly for the classes and trying to dedicate myself to helping the homeless people, because at this time I was not homeless anymore. So I just wanted to give back. And then eventually I loved the philosophy so much, they gave me a Bhagavad Gita and I was invited to Bhaktivedanta Manor. And then here I saw a course which said, be a monk for 7 days. So I tried it out, and then 7 days has become 2 years. Yeah, that's in a nutshell. There's so much to cover, but yeah, that's just a nutshell.
This is so beautiful and so inspiring, from being inquisitive to learning about how you are interdependent and you should be grateful all the time. I think that's what we should take from it too, because we often forget what our surroundings are giving us, and we think we are God, and become take our ego too high and forget that we should be thankful for every single breath and every single thing we get in our lives.
Yeah.
And then being homeless but still helping out others, and realizing that Krishna is actually helping you out in all the things you need because you are serving others. I think that's so inspiring, and I can resonate to many things. So yeah, it's beautiful you're sharing this. Just curious to know, what age frame did all this happen? Like, I mean,
This happened in literally the duration, like, believe it or not, that's why my life has just went by so fast. It just happened in the duration of 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I was 24 and then 25. So between, actually the struggles and the challenges started much earlier, but yeah, that was like a very intense period of time for me. 24, 25, 23, around that age. So 2-3 years, they were like, things really intensified.
Wow, but Krishna laid the path for you, so I think that's the most important.
I think just one thing I wanted to add was that this whole situation has taught me 3 things. The importance of accepting your situation. Sometimes we deny our situation, and so we suffer, we struggle more. Accepting the situation that you're in. So that's one thing. Accept and aspiring for deeper connection in our life. Like, I never really understood the importance of having the right association until I was forced to really understand why it's important to have the right people in our life. The right people in our life can always inspire us, infuse us. And if you have the right people in your life, they can actually, like I always say, don't see people as they are, see people for what they can become. So the right people in life can actually encourage you to become the thing that you're capable of becoming. Acknowledging your situation. And then the other thing, the most important thing is taught me, because I had a dream, I had a plan, but at that 25 years old, I wanted to be rich. I wanted to run my own business. But Krishna, in one sense, made me a beggar materially, but spiritually, he's made me very wealthy. So what it does here is that it adjusting your expectation. And that's another thing that it kind of really taught me, to adjust my expectation. So to adjust my expectation, to accept my situation, and to aspire for connection.
Hari Bol, I want to say.
Yeah, there was so much stuff in there, that, like, so much nectar. I just wanted to ask you, at the beginning, you mentioned there's 4 types of people that are attracted to Krishna consciousness. So could you specify, one is inquisitive, like you said, the other?
Yeah, so one is the inquisitive, the other one is the distressed. And actually, to be frankly honest, many people join Krishna consciousness because they're distressed. Because like yesterday, I was doing book distribution, and one person was mentioning how he's going through cancer right now. And so therefore, he wanted to join Hare Krishna movement. So many people actually join Krishna consciousness because they're distressed, and they want Krishna to take away that distress, which is normal. Regardless of whether you come for one reason or another, eventually you'll be purified, because at least you're acknowledging Krishna's there. So that's the first. Second, the distressed, those that are seeking for wealth. So people actually come to Krishna sometimes, like, can you make my child get an A grade in exam, or can you help me get that job I've always wanted? Then there's the inquisitive, and then there's the ones that are seeking for the absolute. So actually, as you can tell, the last one is the greatest one, but many people, because of Kali Yuga, they actually come to Krishna for material benefits. But it's okay. Krishna gives you your material benefit, but then he purifies you. So sometimes we look at people and we're like, oh, how dare that person, come to Krishna and ask him to, ask for material benefit. But it doesn't matter, because we're in Kali Yuga. All of us are contaminated. All of us are degraded. So one of the most important thing is just to be patient, and to have empathy, and to be tolerant, to try and be loving, to pray for people. If we pray for people, we connect with them on a deeper level. We understand their pain. We understand their struggle. We understand what they're going through. So then we become less judgmental. We become less judgmental, we become less of their critics and more of their supporters, which is ultimately what Krishna consciousness is about. Prabhupada said that Krishna consciousness means compassion. It means to feel the suffering of others, and not just to feel it, but then to be inspired to do something about it. Otherwise, it's not complete compassion, it's half compassion. If you feel someone's pain, but you're not doing something about it, then that's not real compassion. That's not real nonviolence.
Yeah. So how would you, I think I was listening to one of your lives a couple of days back, and this question came up. So how would we serve Krishna once we have gone on this path, with body, mind, and intelligence, knowing that our body and our minds can play against us? Like, the first thing we are taught in Hinduism or in Krishna consciousness is that we are the soul, we are not the body, nor are we the mind or our intelligence. So because we have this human body, how would we utilize all these material aspects we have to fully serve Krishna?
I think first of all, we need to establish that and this is something that on Mataji, I can't seem to remember. Chintamani Dharma Devidasi, I think that's her name. Forgive me if it's not. Yeah, but she was mentioning how really service starts from hearing. Service really begins first from hearing. If you're not hearing, then it's very difficult to try and spiritualize and purify all of your other activities. By hearing, our mind becomes purified. Our mind becomes engaged in something higher. And so therefore, that our services is no longer tinged with hidden agenda, with motivation that is other than devotional service to serve and please the Lord. So it kind of really begins from hearing. And then when we hear, our senses actually, when we honor Krishna Prasadam, when we see the deities, our senses becomes purified. And then when our senses become purified, and actually even while you're serving, your senses become purified, but it just makes it easier. That's why the most important thing is to be in the right environment. The right environment can actually purify your senses. Being around the right energy, being around the right people, all these are so important. And this will encourage you for your senses to become more and more purified.
Yeah. How would we go about identifying these right people, these saintly people to associate with? Because association is one of the biggest things, one of the most important things that Prabhupada mentions is important for our spiritual growth.
Talking about the right association and how to connect with them.
So one of the most important things to understand is in terms of relationship. Like my mentor always put it this way, there's 3 types of people you'll find in your life, 3 types of friend. There's friends that you'll find that they care about your mental well-being. You know, they want to help you, they want to support you to be in a more balanced state of consciousness, state of mental well-being. They don't really like to see you disturbed. And then there's people, friends that care about your physical health. You know, are you sleeping early? Are you waking up early? Are you eating correct? All these kind of stuff, they really care about your physical well-being and then mental well-being. But then the last person, there's friends you'll find in life, they care about your spiritual well-being. If someone cares about your mental well-being and your physical well-being, it's very nice, but it doesn't really resolve the problems of facing in life, which is not a crisis of mental health. That's all there. I'm not minuting that. That's definitely there. Yes, mental health is on the rise. Yes, there's obesity, there's all these things, but all these are reflections of our spiritual crisis. Until we learn to clean the pollution in our heart, until we learn to dust what is in our heart, then there will always be economical, social, health, whatever you can think of, crisis. The crisis really begins from our heart. And why? It's because our heart is not, it has like, many of us, our heart is not sanctified. many of us, what it is that our heart is so contaminated and polluted that what it is that we're even rejecting Krishna to be situated in there comfortably enough to guide us.
Yeah, I can think of an analogy I heard recently that relates to that a lot, that Krishna plays the flute, and the flute, it's empty, there's nothing inside it, it's hollow, and only when we make ourselves, our minds hollow, can Krishna enter his, melodious lila into our lives.
Srila Prabhupada, no, thank you so much. Now we're getting deep. Yeah, Srila Prabhupada once said, whilst he was in the Jaladuta boat, Krishna, I don't know why you're sending me in America. I don't know how on earth I'm going to change these people to brahmanas, to devotees. But Krishna, everything is in your heart, in your hand. So make me dance. And so sometimes I think about a poem like that. I think about pastimes like that. And I'm like, Krishna, make me dance also. Prabhupada said, you have your plan, I have my plan, but Krishna has his plan. And so the real issue, the real topic is really to adjust our plans with Krishna's plan. Mm-hmm. It's not that we try and tell Krishna, can you adjust your plan for my plan? No, we adjust our plans for Krishna's plan. Because while we care so much about wanting to exploit and enjoy things, we use people to get things. What Krishna cares more about is our spiritual well-being. And so Krishna comes in many forms of his agents, sometimes in the form of friends, sometimes in the form of an enemy, sometimes in the form of an animal, whatever it is, to try and teach us a lesson. But the thing is, we don't pause for a moment and we don't ask, what is the lesson? So then we have to go through the same problem again and again and again.
True. True, and I think adding on to that, it's what I've experienced is that you just have to put one step, and the rest of the steps will be put by him. He will come 10 steps for you, or even more, and things will fall in place like anything. So that's something we should definitely always remember, that adjusting our thoughts and our expectations to what Krishna wants us to do makes things so much more beautiful, because his plans are so much bigger than ours. We can't even think of what he can think of.
Definitely, and in the Bhagavad Gita, it mentions how what is nectarian in the beginning can be poisonous in the end. And what may seem poisonous in the beginning can actually be sweet and nectarian in the end. So sometimes in life, we make easy choices. We make cheap choices. We make the most, we compromise in our principles, in our values. We make choices that tarnishes what little value and principle there is. And so what it is that the easy choices we make in life becomes difficult to live with. But then the difficult choices we make in life later on poses to be easy to live with. But what it is that we need to and this is something I had to learn the hard way, patience. In Kali Yuga, one of the biggest things that people are lacking is patience. We want everything here and now. And as a result of it, we make decisions we regret with. We make decisions that we regret later on. So yeah, it's really important. It's really, really important. We make permanent decisions based on temporary feelings. And then those permanent decisions becomes decisions we regret later on in our life. I've seen it many times. How just a moment of being in the wrong place, just a moment of saying something that shouldn't have been said, just a moment of doing something, people regret it many, many years.
That's true.
Yeah, so Prabhupada encourages, he says it in his purport. Like, I know it's hard, but you just have to see the real benefit, the spiritual benefit. You know, this is what it is. We need to be like, one of the things I learned is that we need to have long-term visions. We need to see long-term. We're not in Krishna consciousness for the short run. We're not here for a quick fix. Krishna consciousness is not a process of quick fix. Krishna consciousness is a process of being purified from many, many, many lifetime anarthas and many, many lifetimes of samskar, impression that's been left upon our consciousness. And so one day we can be purified enough, and it may be this life, it may be another life, but for a devotee, they're not so much concerned about how many lives, they're just concerned in being engaged in the service of the Lord.
But do you think anyone can come to this way of thinking and getting purified? Or do you need to have done some karmas which bring you to Krishna consciousness?
The thing is, when you come into contact with a devotee, when you come into Krishna consciousness, anything and everything can change. We shouldn't really restrict Krishna. You know, we shouldn't think that, you know, he's not that powerful enough to be able to change our destiny, to be able to change our path. That's why one of the things that they say is like, when someone goes through a certain incident in Krishna consciousness, just imagine how much worse it could have been. But because you've taken on the process of Krishna consciousness, Krishna is so merciful. Krishna is so loving. Krishna is the supreme lover. Krishna is the supreme father. And a father would never want to see his children hurt. He would never want to see his children go through suffering and pain. But at the same time, the father knows that sometimes a child will only learn through experience. So the father's there. He's letting the children go through certain experiences, but when it becomes too much, the father is ready to be like, okay, enough is enough, let's go. And that's what it is. Krishna has his hands for all of us, but we're refusing to hold on to it. You know, we're too attached to this body. We're too attached to identity. We're too attached to what we feel, what we think. And guess what? Guess, as much as I'm saying this, I'm still in that category too. We're just so attached. And as a result of it, because we're so attached, we see through the lenses of attachment rather than through the lenses of Shastra. We see through the lenses of emotion rather than through the lenses of intelligence. Sometimes our emotion can degrade us, but as long as we use Shastra, as long as we use Sadhu, as long as we use Guru, then they can help us to always remain on the right track. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what kind of past you've had. It doesn't matter what kind of challenges you've gone through. Prabhupada mentions in the Nectar of Devotion how there's so many karmis, so many materialistic people that have gotten the best grade. They're going to the best university. You know, they have the best job. But still, they don't match with devotees. Even if the devotee didn't go to the best school, even if he doesn't have the best grade, even if he isn't doing a great job, like if he doesn't have a great career. But what it is that they're avoiding illicit sex, gambling, intoxication, and meat eating. They're chanting 16 rounds, and that makes them paka. That makes them better than any person. So this is the process of Krishna consciousness. You're not judged so much about your materialistic ability, your materialistic results. You're not so much judged in all that. That's not what's concerned. The concern is the bhakti in your heart, the devotion. It kind of reminds me of a pastime of how there was this one Brahmana, this one disciple of the Guru, and the Guru said to him that, I want you to read the whole Bhagavad Gita. And then the disciple couldn't read, he was illiterate. So he held the Bhagavad Gita upside down and he was trying to understand it, and some devotees were laughing at him. They're like, what the hell, he's not even reading the book the right way. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw this boy trying to read the Bhagavad Gita upside down, and the boy was crying. And then after that, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, what have you noticed that's making you cry? And then it's like, you know what? I don't know how to read the Bhagavad Gita, but when I look at this picture of Krishna and Arjuna, I just think, Krishna, what an amazing supreme Lord he is. What an amazing personality he is, that even though he's so supreme, he's willing to take the position, the humble position of a servant. That means that God is our friend. And so he was saying all this, and then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, you've actually understood the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. So it just shows it doesn't matter how smart you are, how intelligent you are, how literate you are. If there's no humility, then you can't make an advancement in spiritual life. Humility is key. Humility is so important. You know, you can know everything, but if you're not humble, then you can't make an advancement. So let us pray for that. Let us pray to develop humility. Let us pray that we don't develop egoistical approach to spiritual life. And how do we do that? By stop making it ritualistic and add the spirit aspect of it. You're practicing spirituality. You're not just practicing rituality.
Yes. Yeah, I completely agree. Although then I do think about the people who are not in Krishna consciousness, and especially atheistic people who come across our paths. What's the way, or should we try to explain and teach them, or should we let it be their own way?
It just depends on how open their heart is. One of the 10 offenses is to preach to the faithless. Prabhupada said that that's not good. And that can actually spoil our spiritual life. So we don't want to disturb people. Krishna consciousness doesn't mean we go around and we disturb people and we make people feel less. You know, and that's what Radhanath Maharaj actually said. So many religions are competing on whose religion is the right religion. You know, so many religion claims to have the absolute truth, but where is the absolute compassion? Where is the absolute understanding? So Radhanath Maharaj mentioned how we are standing on a risky line, because we do have the absolute truth, but with great power comes great responsibility. And that responsibility means that we shouldn't try and convert people. We shouldn't try and disturb them. People are already disturbed. You know, people have already lost there. We shouldn't try and make it worse. So what it is that we do our humble part and we leave the rest to Krishna. If that means just give them Krishna Prasadam and that's it, leave them, then just give them Krishna Prasadam. If that means just smile at them, like, it kind of reminds me of another story about how there was this one particular, I don't recall the whole story, but there was this one particular person. And he always hated the devotees, but he would wave at them. And so when he left his body, when he was about to be passed away, he was about to be taken to the hellish planet, hellish world. But because he did that one act of kindness to the devotees, he was actually saved from the hellish planet, hellish experience. So the point I'm making is that even a moment's association with the devotee can purify one, a pure devotee. So that means even if, let's say, you just give them Krishna Prasadam, or you just wave at them, you smile at them, if you engage them in devotional service, and this is what Prabhupada did. Prabhupada never tried to convert people to become devotees. He engaged everyone according to their nature, according to their level of advancement. So if that meant that people just love to work, and that's the level of their consciousness and the level of advancement, then he would engage them in the service of the Lord. So they would be working, but they wouldn't really see it as like, oh, I'm working for Krishna, but indirectly they're serving Krishna. So this is what I mean. More than preaching to people is that we should try and be people's friend. We shouldn't be preachers. We should try and actually be a community builders. We should try and be friend to people. This is what people need. They don't need someone telling them like you're wrong. They need someone to be like, I love you, I care about you. You know, I'm here to sit down with you and I'm here to listen to you. And when we actually become people's genuine friends, when we become their real friends, what happens is then they naturally open their heart to us. Then it becomes easier to go into their heart, to actually penetrate through their heart. But until then, we must understand that people have barriers, and it takes time to beat the barrier. But to break that barrier means that we need to do so with love and compassion.
Right, thank you. I always have this doubt in mind, should I approach someone or should I just leave him, or because I feel guilty because I know something which could help him. But you said it right. I think the first step is to understand what the person is going through and try to connect with him on that level before preaching anything.
And not only that, here's another important thing to remember. Just because you have the right advice, it doesn't make you the right person to give that advice. Sometimes you may know the right thing, but you may not be the right person to tell that person. And if you go around giving advice to people and you may not be qualified to, you may not be the right person to give that advice, then you actually spoil people's spiritual life rather than actually inspiring them and encouraging them. And this is the most important thing to remember. I was sharing this the other day, that there's a wrong way of giving advice. There's a wrong approach, and you need to understand, do I have a relationship with that person? Is that a relationship, am I able to be honest in that relationship? Am I necessarily the right person to give that advice? Am I qualified? And here's another thing, do I really care about giving that advice, or am I doing it for my own ego? Mm-hmm. Sometimes we give advice not because we want to help that person, but because we want to make ourselves feel better. And what it is that people don't care what you say. People actually care the intention behind what you say. That's what they resonate more. So you can give a simple advice, but if you're giving it from a place of love, from a place of care, then people will actually listen to you. If you're doing it to try and prove a point, or trying to seem bigger than what you are, then people will actually distance themselves from you.
Yes. True.
There's so much to take in. I'm just absorbing it.
And actually, we did have a lot of other questions too, like more on your Satvic community and the School of Bhakti, where you're so much active in. Devanshu, Ben, you wanna?
I don't think we have time, because otherwise the video is going to be too long to upload. But I think what we've discussed now has been so much more valuable anyway. Most of the questions were, well, they were based on Satva, like Satvic diet and sleep, and it was about that. But I think what we've gotten out of this is so much more valuable.
True, I so agree. I feel like I'm so much richer in my, in all the experience I just had in the past 15 minutes. It was so beautiful.
We can, Mohan Prabhu, can you introduce Satvic community to our viewers or audience who would be seeing the video, so that they can also be benefited from the Satvic lifestyle?
The thing is, it's like, that's not really even a good, these are not, like, sometimes, people ask these kind of questions, but I do it naturally. I think what it is that we're all doing such a beautiful service for Srila Prabhupada. So it's never really a matter of like individual projects, it's that we're all working together to try and spread this Nam Sankirtan, the Yuga Dharma for this age. So it's not even like, I love supporting other people's projects. I love sharing what other people are up to, what other people are doing. So I'm more than happy to share this wonderful, inspiring project that you guys are doing right now.
Well, we are trying to, and maybe we can do a part 2 in the near future, because I think I can keep on asking questions, and it will still not be enough. So I think, thank you for your time, and thank you for all that you've shared today. It was such a beautiful story, and I know, you have gone through so much, and it must have been so difficult, but at the same time, you are inspiring a lot of souls, I can tell you that. So thank you once again. And I hope I will also contribute a bit more into the Satvic community group soon. But as you might know, I'm from the Netherlands, so sometimes it becomes difficult to join the calls and all. But just know that I am there, and I am being the silent follower.
That's right. We have such exciting projects coming. So let's see where it goes. Don't worry so much about now, because what it is as time goes by, you'll see where everyone will fit in naturally. We're trying to really impact the world. So let's see.
Definitely, and it was really nice to get to know your journey as well. I'm sure it's going to inspire so many people. Hopefully, everything you went through by watching your video, they can skip a few steps and realize what you realize now.
No, thank you all so much. Continue with the nice service. You guys are doing such an amazing service. So yes, make Krishna consciousness viral, make it go global, make it relevant, make it practical. And the last thing is that I know that many of you are new to Krishna consciousness. So while you're doing that, simultaneously also invest in your own spiritual life. Because my mentors always told me that if you're just preaching, but you're not nourishing yourself, then there's no substance to your preaching. Then what it is that you won't really be touching people's hearts, you'll be touching people's intelligence. So the way to touch people's heart is only if you're touched. And how can we be touched? How can we be touched? We can be touched by absorbing ourselves in Shastra, and absorbing ourselves in Prabhupada's books, Prabhupada's lectures, Prabhupada's chanting, prasadam. So when we experience the higher taste, we can also give that higher taste to others. So I encourage you all.
Yes, we will follow up that advice, and we obviously that was one of the key things before we started this group, that there will be a lot of research behind it, because we don't want to preach anything we are not sure about ourselves. So first we need our own beliefs to be topmost before we can obviously spread the message. And and simultaneously we will engage with the senior devotees like you.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.